So this person is already committing fraud on some scale because they're presenting themselves as someone who can be accessed at a physical location and they can't. In July, I decided to file the claim pro se in California court, and that's currently what I'm engaged in, being the type of person who is now literally the David versus Goliath going up against a multi-billion-dollar company on my own. I have fancy lawyers who specialize in employment law who are now trying to do gamesmanship with me. Send me emails about how they would like to have briefs, all kinds of other responses to their questions in a couple days deadline. When I filed this lawsuit, a lot of the people involved in the lawsuit actually did a lot of active evading of being served. I know that for a fact because I have process servers who have on the record claimed that staff at some of these residential treatment centers, when they went to go serve my bosses there, the clinical director and a clinical supervisor, were told lies about how they never show up to these places. That's all documented on the forms that the process servers have provided to the court. But it was interesting because one of the things that I found was that a mental health worker was actively engaging with the service provider and telling them things that couldn't make sense. Things like these are virtual bosses that don't come into the office ever, which would then implicate this company in ongoing Medi-Cal fraud and Medicare fraud, because if you have state licensed facilities that aren't being managed by licensed staff, that seems to be an issue. Regardless, this particular mental health worker had said that my bosses who I was naming in my lawsuit didn't work at these places and never came in. They were, quote, virtual bosses. That was the first instance of trying to really understanding that there was a bigger issue going on at this company. When I served them at their homes and residences, there was also an inability to get them served there because several had actively evaded the service process. And the executive director, who isn't even on site here in California, lives out in New York, listed, and I believe still lists an address in Brooklyn, New York, which a process server tried to serve her at. And several of the neighbors at this purported place of business indicated that they had never heard of them, had never seen the defendant at this location, and it was impossible for this person, a licensed LMFT and a certified eating disorder specialist with a PhD, they had never heard of this person and had never really seen where they were at.